Baby Bob's Purple Havarti here, man. YouTube's first influencer. Doing another tier list, man. Doing the Arctic Monkeys, a band that, what can I say, man? They influenced a lot of people. They are a huge band and are critically acclaimed, and are a band I really enjoyed over the years. We'll start with whatever people say that's what I'm not. Automatic S tier on this album, man. I still come back to this one. I mean, what a bang to start off your career. I bet you look good on the dance floor. Then you got Fake Tales of San Francisco, you're like sheesh. Then you got Dancing Shoes, you're like oh my gosh. From Mr. Rubble, Red Lights Indicate Doors to Secure, Marty Bum. I mean, the list goes on this album, and it's just incredible what they were able to do right off the bat. Fastest selling British album, and well deserved too, man. This album is top tier. Alex Turner, I don't even consider him singing on this album. He's more rapping, he's speed rapping. I know the band was really into hip hop, and Matt Helders, the drummer, he is holding it down with that freaking hi-hat, man. I love this album so much, man. And then they put the amazing fresh cherry on top with A Certain Romance, which might go down as the greatest song they've ever done. Just a great album, chef's kiss of an album, S tier of an album. I think a lot of 21-year-olds here in the States could relate to this album. Alex is really painting a picture of the nightlife, and for a lot of us, it's like this album, man. Not every night do you pull a chick, and he tells great stories behind that. Great album cover too. Favorite Worst Nightmare? I'll tell you what, I'm putting it in tier. Favorite Worst Nightmare, man. What can I say? It's tough to follow such a great album. Like, whatever people say, that's what I'm not. And I don't think the Arctic Monkeys delivered. I think they try to recapture that sort of sound that came from from whatever people say, that's what I'm not. But they weren't able to do that. I just don't like this album, man. I never come back to this album. Every now and then I come back to Teddy Picker. That's a great song. Balaclava, pretty decent song. Old Yellow Bricks is great. I think that should have been a single. The guitar melody could be like sung at stadiums, kind of like Seven Nation Army. But man, a lot of people love 505. I think that song is just a little too slow for me. Lyrically, it's pretty cool. Man, when you think about it, like Brian Storm isn't really my favorite. It's just fast paced. It's like this insane song. And I don't think Alex's songwriting is to par. Fluorescent Adolescence for a while was like their biggest song, but even that song I don't particularly like. This album, man, I barely come back to it, and when I do, I get very bored pretty quick. What else is on this? If You Were There, Beware. That's a bright spot on the album for sure. Yeah, it has its bright spots, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on 515. It's not my favorite song. I can see why it is. It's an intense song. Maybe I need to listen to it more, but I mean, dude, I never come back to Favorite Worst Nightmare. There's nothing on there. Like I said, maybe Teddy Picker, but to be honest, it just sounds like a band that lost creativity after whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not, because they try to like find that same sound, but I think they did it less spectacular. I think whatever people had more switches on there, it had a lot more hooks on there, where some of these songs don't have that hook mentality, and they could have gone 2 for 2, but it happens, man. Humbug is going to be, man, Humbug is an album that grew on me heavily. I think it grew on the fan base heavily. I think everybody hated the switch. The band needed a switch. Shout out to Josh Holmes for changing the band, and this switch was very needed, and to me was fucking awesome, man. At first I didn't like it. No, I was like, this doesn't sound like whatever people are saying to them. Doesn't sound like Favorite Worst Nightmare. It grew on me though over time, man. I was just like, whoa, this guitar sound great. This new sound is really like deserty. It's really like mystical. It's almost like gypsy rock, kind of psychedelic-esque. And Crying Lightning's just amazing. Alex with that penmanship. Alex Turner needs to write novels. Outside the Cafe by the Cracker Factory, they were practicing their magic tricks. He's got lyrics for days, this guy. And then you have songs like D is for Dangerous, that is very catchy. Secret Door, my boy Nick hates Secret Door because Alex's voice, but I really like Secret Door. It's a freaking great song. And then you have arguably one of the greatest love songs, one of the greatest songs Alex has ever wrote on this album with Cornerstone. That video is hilarious, him just singing in his turtleneck. It's a great change up, and this is what they needed. One of my issues I had with Favorite Worst Nightmare, they didn't change it up enough. Here they come with Humbug. Hate it at first, listen to it more. Man, it's great. It's got some freaking catchiness. It's got some some actual energy. Suck It and See. Guess what, man? Suck It and See. S tier on that one, man. Suck It and See is so fucking good, man. I can't even. This album happened after Alex, broke up with a long-term girlfriend, Alexa Chong. Look her up. She's a beautiful woman. No wonder he wrote this freaking album after breaking up with her breaking up with him, whatever it is. Man, this album's so freaking good, dude. I just love it, man. He's heartbroken. Like I said before, one of the main things I love about Alex is his penmanship, and he went off on this album, man, and the sound is great too. It's like this glitter pop, sort of slowed down stuff that, again, the band ends up changing its sound, and Alex writes these lyrics that are just captivating. The sound of Hellcat Spangles Sha-La-La-La is just really great. I mean, the guitars are dreamy, and everything's so dreamy in this album. And then you got the bottom half of this album with Suck It and See, Love Is a Laser Crest, Pile Driver Waltz. You got Reckless Serenade on here. I mean, dude, the guy just made sad music this whole album. Me and my homies love this album. Alex that ultimately made sad boy music and made it so well, and the Arctic Monkeys. And I was like, how are they gonna follow this up? Suck It and See is that album, man. AM, boom, D. And I think it's just a little above Favorite Worst Nightmare. AM came at a time where they just got off of, Suck It and See. This is an S tier album. There's a bit of a pattern here. You see, after an S tier, they go to D. AM was a bit of a disappointment. Dude, it's like, what is that? It's okay. Like, I understand why people like it. It's so simple. I hated it, man. I did not like it. It's crazy because lyrically that song is pretty good. It took me to hear a cover until I realized the song lyrics were pretty good on that song, which is a bad sign. I think sonically this album isn't the best album. Songs like Snap Out of It that I just absolutely don't like. I think the saving graces on this album, for me personally, is Why'd You Only Call Me When You're High. It is a great song. I wish they would dabbled into that sort of style more. It sounded like 2001 Chronic, man. It sounded like some Dr. Dre stuff that they were doing. To be honest, man, I just didn't really like this album. I thought Matt Helders was being held back. I wanted more drums. I wanted different patterns. Like they were trying to be the Black Keys. I mean, they got off tour with the Black Keys, so they catered to the American market, and the American market said, yes, we love this stuff. And there's some points in this album that are good. Arabella's guitar solo is amazing. I Want to Be Yours is just a great song. I like that song a lot. I think you're noticing that I really like love songs. And I Want to Be Yours is one of those great songs. But yeah, man, not much to say about this album. I think Knee Socks is a great song too. I don't really come back to this album that much, but I do come back to it more than I do Favorite Worst Nightmare. To me, it's kind of like the same thing. I mean, I got S tier, and then I got really disappointed by the band. Which is crazy because I think the whole world was loving the band after AM. On to Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. I'm going to put it right there, man. Tranquility Base Hotel Casino. A tier. What a way to come back. Absolutely incredible. Alex came back with his penmanship again. Something that was lacking on AM. Something that was super high on Suck It and See. He delivers on this one, man. I think lyrically it's such a good album. I think concept-wise it's such a good album too. Dabbing into the future. I remember when I first listened to this album, I was on a trip to Mexico and it just came out, and I was actually riding a plane. It was amazing. It was the perfect setting for it. The only thing that I was missing was like some champagne, because this album just sounded beautiful on headphones, and my scenery around, just looking out the window, being high on the sky, just listening to Alex just talk about being a hotel worker and stuff. And yeah, man, American Sports is a great song. The title track's amazing. The first single was so freaking good. 4 stars out of 5. To me, it reminded me a lot of Hotel California by the Eagles. I don't know if it reminded anybody else about that. Alex is back on that album and he's killing it. Just some interesting song titles too. The World's First Monster Truck Front Flipper. Yeah, I'm sure I messed that up. It's a great album, man. The Car. C tier. Now, The Car's an album I kind of listened to maybe 3 times, 4 times, so I still gotta listen to it a bit more. But one thing I can say about The Car is I don't like it more than Tranquility Base, and I don't like it more than Humbug, but I do love it more than Favorite Worst Nightmare and AM. There's some interesting elements in this album. I think Alex is still writing pretty good stuff on this album as well. One of my favorite songs on this album, which I come back to quite often, is Jet Skis on the Moat. I don't really hear hear that many people talk about that song, but to me it's just funky. It's pretty great, and Alex is doing some good key work. Yeah, I think on this album what really swept me away was something that has nothing to really do with the original band. It's the violins. Whenever the violins come in any of these songs on this album, it elevates it to another level, and I think that was a good addition to have. It's kind of sad though, this album as well. I feel like there aren't as much guitar work going on. I don't know if I can hear Jamie, he's the lead guitarist of this band, that much. The bass lines are still pretty good, but that's one thing I wanted to mention about Tranquility is that the bass lines on Tranquility Bass Hotel and Casino are amazing, and the bass lines in the car, I can't really hear them. I don't know, they're not as good as the previous albums. One thing I can't say is that there aren't that many hooks on either this or Tranquility Bass. I think Tranquility Bass worked better than this, because Tranquility was really fantasy, out in space and everything, but the car just kind of fell short of being this sort of putting me into a mood kind of thing. It's alright, man. It's not the worst album, and like I said, once those violins hit, it's fantastic. I think the first song, Mirror Ball, is pretty good too. Well, Body Paint's pretty good too. It's not bad either. And I wish the band would do more hooks. That's what I wish would come more of the car. Like, at least on Tranquility, there were some beautiful hooks on there. A little bit disappointed, but I'll listen to it more, I'm finally ranking it right here. Sorry for being so harsh on Favorite Worst Nightmare. I just don't like that album, in my opinion. I don't think it was a great follow-up. Let me know what you think. Maybe you like this one a lot less. I know, man, I have such a love for this album that is crazy. If you love this one more, I mean, a lot of people love AM way more than I ever loved AM, and a lot of people hate Humbug, so maybe that would go lower for some people. But yeah, man, this is my final rank. Shout out to the Arctic Monkeys, man. I hope they keep making music and keep doing their thing. Yeah, man. Peace.